The Australian government is rolling out a ton of changes week by week that is affecting business owners, franchise owners, and even employees. And if you're not on top of these changes, you might get caught out with a massive penalty. What I'm going to do for you today is I'm going to break down when these changes are happening, what you need to know, and how you can get ahead of everything right now, regardless if you're a business owner, franchise owner, or employee. Let's get into the video. Hey guys, my name's Emile, the franchise owner and founder of Little Boomers Basketball. We are a national kids basketball franchise in Australia. We have 24 active franchisees. These are 24 small business owners that look to us, head office, for advice on policy changes and regulations in Australia. I'm going to go through the changes today, and hopefully if you run a small business or if you own a franchise or if you're looking at owning a franchise, you learn something from the video. Change number one, Payday Super kicks in July 1st, 2026. So in Australia, you got to pay all your employees superannuation, which as of now is 12%. At the moment, you pay it at the end of the quarter, right? So you don't have to pay superannuation to the end of the quarter. However, with Payday Super kicking in, you must pay your employees superannuation the moment you process their timesheet. So if you pay your employees weekly, you got to pay super weekly. If you pay your employees fortnightly, you got to pay super fortnightly. What does this mean? This is going to affect your cash flow dramatically because now the money has to come out instantly and not the end of the quarter. And if you kind of like get paid monthly or you get paid quarterly, that might affect your cash flow. So you need to start budgeting for Payday Super happening in July 1st, 2026. If you're a franchisee or if you're looking to buy a franchise, make sure you speak to your franchisor. But Payday Super kicks in July 1st, 2026. Let's get into the second change. Righto, change number two, the minimum wage is increasing, and I've actually got the number here. So Fair Work Commission has announced a 3 to 4% increase. The current minimum wage in Australia right now is $24.95, and it is moving up to about $25 to $25.95. Now, it's not a dramatic change, but again, with Payday Super kicking in, the minimum wage increasing, all of this is eating into your gross profit margins. But as of July 1, the minimum wage is now going up. Let's get into the third major change. Change number three, the card surcharge ban, and this is huge. So at the moment, like for example, our business, we have a 2% merchant fee. Somebody goes online to book in to a program, we charge a 2% merchant fee, that gets charged to parent, we pay that to Stripe, who is the merchant. As of October 1, finished. Done. You are not allowed to charge or pass over a merchant fee to the customer. So for example, if you like to go buy a coffee and a coffee costs $3 and you get your card and it says $3.25 because there's a merchant fee, not allowed anymore in Australia after October 1 on credit cards and debit cards, not allowed. So that's happening in October 1, no more merchant fees, and this is very big. And I think all businesses in Australia need to really lift up their prices to take into account this merchant fee that's going. So with these three changes alone, if you don't do anything to your pricing, whether you're selling a product or whether you're selling a service, your profit is going to go down. If you choose not to reevaluate your prices, this is going to eat into your profit margins. And us as a company and a network, we've recently increased our prices to take into account all of these changes. So if you're a small business owner, I highly recommend during these next couple of months before July, you look at your prices and you lift up your prices to make sure that you're accommodating for these changes and not eating into your profit margins. Hey guys, I've created a franchise success blueprint. It's a PDF that has a ton of information about our franchise. It's also got a pretty cool case study from one of our franchisees. Click the link below to access it. I hope you enjoy. And change number four is a Google review policy change. Now, as a local business owner, even if you're a local franchisee, the biggest thing that you can do to show up in Google is collect Google reviews. If you collect a lot of Google reviews from your customers, Google sees you as an authority and a really good local business, and they're going to put you higher up in what's called the map pack. However, in April, Google has changed how you collect reviews. So you're not allowed to ask a customer at your cafe or wherever your site is, hey, can you leave us a review? That's actually illegal. And if you do it and Google sees it, they're going to remove that review from your Google My Business page because they view it as you're coercing your customer to leave a review. And you're no longer allowed to pay employees or give them a bonus if they collect a review. So I know with us, we had our coaches go up to parents and say, hey, do you mind leaving us a review? And if they did get a review, we'd give them a $5 or $10 bonus. You're not allowed to do that anymore. You're not allowed to pay your employees to collect Google reviews. Instead, when you're asking for a Google review, it has to be when the customer has left your premise or when the customer has left your site. Because if you're doing all this work to collect Google reviews and Google sees, hey, you asked that customer on site, they're going to remove it. So this is massive, especially if you're a local business owner and you rely heavily on Google reviews. Make sure you review the policy. Let's move on to the next change. Change number 5 is the Privacy Act. So in the past, business owners under $3 million were exempt from the Privacy Act change. However, if you collect any data online, customer information, card details, emails, anything related to the customer, you now need to update your privacy policy to make sure that you're complying with the new privacy laws in Australia by December 10. I'm not going to go into detail with that, but if you do collect customer data, make sure you look into this because you're going to have to update your privacy policy before December 10, aka my birthday. Now, the next change is really important, especially if you're looking at coming into a franchise or even if you're a current franchisee, and that's the changes to the capital gains tax. Now, I'm not going to talk about what the changes are because I'm sure you've seen all the memes out there with Anthony Albanese saying that he's a 50% silent partner, and I'm not even going to explain like what the difference is. All I'm going to tell you right now is you're going to pay more for when you sell your business. That's all I'm going to say. And one of the great things about coming into a franchise is if you buy a franchise for, say, $30,000, right? You pay a franchise fee of $30,000. You add value over time. You build up your customer base, right? You build up your revenue. And in 5 years' time, you've got a really good and strong business running. You're able to sell that franchise for a higher price. In fact, one of our franchisees came in 5 years ago, purchased it for $30,000 and sold it for $120,000. That's value that they've added over that last 5 years. Now, when you go to sell that franchise, you're going to get less of that with the capital gains tax coming into play. And also, in case you didn't know, if you go to sell a franchise, there's other fees that you need to pay to the franchisor. There's an assignment fee, there's a training fee, there's all these other types of fees. So you got to make sure that if you're planning on selling your franchise, you always got to have the end in mind that you take into account what the capital gains tax charges are and what all the other fees are associated with selling a franchise. Make sure you speak to your accountant first, but just know if you ever sell your franchise, you're going to be paying more on capital gains. And that is it, guys. Those are all the major changes that you need to know whether you're a business owner looking to buy a franchise. Make sure you jump on all these changes right now. Get ahead of everything. If you like this video, I have another video here for you to watch, which is from the ACCC that talked about all the changes that is coming to the franchise disclosure document, which is what every franchisor has to adhere to. Check out the changes that the ACCC has made, and I'll see you in the next video. God bless.